Muted.
Okay, okay. All right. I got an answer yes from some of the people. I hope everybody can listen me now. If you're not able to listen me, please raise your hand. If you look at your GoToMeeting options, you have an option to raise your hand. Then I can talk to them. I can unmute them and then I can talk to them. Right now, everybody is muted. I see one Karan Kumar uh, raising his hand. So let me talk to him. Hey Karan, can you hear me?
Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. I guess everybody can hear me now. Oh, good. Good. All right. So again, welcome to the class. Uh, so about I'll start with a brief about myself because that I think that's better. So I am a trainer with Collabra and I have a working experience of around 13 years, and I have been working on AWS for almost 3.5 to 4 years now, and I'm a certified AWS architect, SysOps, and DevOps developer, right? So all these associate levels have done those certifications, and I'm working currently as an architect for a company in US. I'm in Texas. I'm in Dallas. I'm taking a class from Dallas here, right? So my time zone, it's night. I hope maybe some of you guys are in India and some of you guys are in US, I guess. So that's about me, right? And probably this class is will last about 25 hours here and there. I mean, probably there could be a session which could be of 2 hours, or most of the sessions I expect them to run for 2.5 hours. So that will be 2.5 hours into 5 weekends. So that will be 25 hours, and we may take a break of 10 minutes between these 2.5 hours, because continuously listening for you people for 2.5 hours also is going to get very tough, and speaking for me also is going to be a bit tough. So probably we may take a 10-minute break during a session, right? Uh, I hope you guys are also able to see my screen. If you're not able to see my screen, raise a hand. Okay, I guess everybody is seeing my screen. And I want this session, not only this session, but the entire course to be as interactive as possible. Because I believe in you guys can learn more if you ask questions. And if you don't ask questions, it's going to be, if it's going to be like a one-way traffic, you may grasp what I'm saying, but the other additional things which can come out of me by your questions, you may miss out, right? So it's up to you guys to ask me questions and get the information that you need. I try to take all of your questions during the class. If there are any questions which are going off the topic or not in a wider interest of all the people, I may push it aside and I may talk to you guys later, or I may email you, right? And uh, and just to make a note of it, my email ID will be my email ID will be Did I say my name? I hope I did. My name is Vishnu, just in case I did not say it. Right? My name is Vishnu, and that's my email ID. If you guys have any questions regarding any topic, you can always contact me. Not only during the course, even after the course, you can contact me. If you guys want to take a note down out of that email ID, I'm fine. You guys can make a note of that email ID. All right. All right. So that's a bit about me, and that's a bit about the course that we are going to do. And here we are going to primarily concentrate on learning AWS. There are a lot many other stuff which goes with AWS. We will not deviate our focus much from other than AWS, because AWS, AWS needs a bit of understanding of operating systems also, right? We do. we try to keep our focus as much as possible to AWS without deviating too much into operating systems. Because once I start getting into the operating systems, it's going to take away our focus. So I don't want to do that. With that said, I want. I don't know how many people there are. I see a couple of people to be inactive. I just want to uh, understand what your expectations from the course and what you have been doing. Right? I'll unmute one of each of you guys from the list, and then you can go ahead. Right? So at this moment, I'm unmuting Abhay Patil. So probably he's going to talk about his experience and what is the expectation from the course. Abhay, can you hear me?
Hi,
Hi, Abhay.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can now. How are you?
Yeah, yeah, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, yeah, presently I'm working as an application package engineer and on SCCM. So I want to know how the cloud architecture works and what is my role being played in the future and all.
Okay. So you are into
So
SCCM, is it?
yeah, SCCM and application packaging.
Okay. So you use some tools to package those applications. Wise or
Yeah,
some
yeah, install shield
installation. Okay. Okay.
and
All right.
mass
And
packaging.
basically, you don't have any experience on cloud, right?
No.
Okay. That's fine. Okay. All
So
right.
anything I
Yep.
have to learn for it or
Anything?
I have to learn something to know cloud about cloud means some prerequisites or
I would say there are no prerequisites. You just need to have a bit of computer knowledge, right?
okay,
There'll be some prerequisites on networking side. I'll let you
okay,
guys know when you should read that, right?
okay, okay.
Other than a bit of networking like subnetting and other stuff, there are not many prerequisites as such. And I'll let you guys know when I need you people to know about it.
Yeah.
All right? Done. Thanks, Abhay.
Okay.
Hey, Amit.
Hi. Uh, Hi,
Yep.
Vishnu. You're able to
Hey,
hear me,
Amit.
right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Yes. I'm Amit Gales. I basically am a DevOps and I am a developer also in University Global.
Mm-hmm.
I have done development in Python, Django. I have done development in C++ also. And basically, I'm new to cloud because this is the
So,
first time
so
I'm looking.
sure. So you're a DevOps engineer, is it?
Right now, I'm a DevOps engineer. Yes, I use
Okay.
Chef and Kitchen in Python frameworks to for DevOps operations.
Okay. So you're working on Chef.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Good. Even I work on Chef. All right.
Uh,
Good. All right. Thanks, Amit. Hey, Jayachandran. Hey,
Hi,
Jayachandran.
yeah, hi Vishnu. Good evening.
Good
You can call
morning,
me
good
Jay.
evening. I'm not sure which time zone you are in.
I'm in Bangalore. You can say good morning.
Good morning then.
Thank you. So I'm basically an MBA with an MBA, and
You are
currently I'm working. Yes, yes, please.
sorry. What did you say? You're working.
No, I was telling about the education. I'm a BE with an MBA,
Okay. Okay. Cool. So
and
you're going to be a manager soon.
uh, thank you. So currently I'm working in CRM. It's a cloud CRM. Zoho CRM. I think you have heard about it. Vishnu?
Yeah. Go ahead. You're working on CRM, right?
Yeah. So,
Yep.
totally, I have 12 years of experience into different categories. Now, currently, I'm into CRM. Uh,
Okay.
what I was waiting to ask is how much of CLA is involved here? Because I have,
CLI.
yeah,
Uh, we are going to look at it. See, everything that we do from the command line, well, basically everything that you do from the GUI can be done from the command line, right? It is not necessary that you need to know CLI. I mean, if you know it, it's better. If you don't know it, that's not a problem at all. There are multiple ways to interact with AWS, right? And one of the ways is CLI.
Is it not going to be mandatory?
No, it is not. It is definitely not. I don't use CLI very often.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
I can see that there is a solutions architect, developer, and then DevOps admin. So this course covers all three, or what parts are covered here?
This course predominantly covers solution architect.
Okay.
Yeah. Because see, if you're looking at the certification, I would say 80% of the concepts are same for each, all of the three, right? Only the 20% that changes a bit.
Okay.
Right? So probably if you have clear solution architect, you're almost there to clear SOPs, right? And with a bit of effort on, there is a thing called as DynamoDB. If you work on that, you should be able to clear developer also.
Okay.
Okay.
And anything else specifically you would suggest me to, be good at it?
Anything else I would suggest you to?
Be good so that I can get better in AWS.
Okay, to get better on AWS, there are two prerequisites. One is, at least for this course, there are two prerequisites. One is do all the practicals that I want you guys to do and ask as many questions as possible.
Okay, nice. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. So Atul has joined us, but he's still not. I don't think he'll be able to talk yet. We have Karan Kumar. Hey, Karan.
Hi, sir.
Hey, Karan.
Uh, I recently worked as a IT infrastructure engineer at a private internet services,
Mm-hmm.
and I am new at I am new in a cloud, so I have not kind of knowledge of cloud.
Okay. Okay. I think you're going to get that. Don't worry about that. All right. Thanks, Karan. Let me switch to Atul now. Hey, Atul. Atul, can you hear me? Atul, can you hear me? Uh, I just want to know your name and a bit about yourself, like what you have been doing and what your expectation from this course, and any questions that you have before start of the course. If you can hear me and if you can't talk, then I'll go to someone else. Okay, probably Atul. I can't hear you, Atul. So I'll go to someone else now. Hey, Nimish, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Hey, Nisha.
You hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Hello.
I can.
Hi, I'm Nimish, and previously I worked as a JBoss admin, and from
Okay.
last 2 years I'm not working, and
Mm.
actually I'm looking for work as a uh, cloud admin. So that's why I have joined your training. And previously I have done my OpenStack certification. Is it helpful for me?
It is. It is. OpenStack with AWS is a very good combination.
Because previously I've done my OpenStack certification in June, and then I'm ready for AWS.
I think, yeah, It's a very good combination. See, the good combinations here you get is AWS uh, with a DevOps tool like a Chef or a Puppet, and if you know OpenStack also, that's a huge plus.
Okay. One more thing I want to
Sure.
ask you. Sorry. Actually, I have some gap in my job profile. So it is helpful to recover my gap, or it is or not.
That all depends on you, Nimish.
Okay.
I mean, there is no generic way of answering that question. That all depends on you.
Okay.
Right? Sorry about that, but that's all down to you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. No problem.
Now I'm going to Priya Singh. Hey, Priya, can you hear me?
Or good evening, sorry.
I can't hear you.
Now is it audible? Hello.
Barely.
Let me check the volume setting. Just give me a minute. Hello. Now is it fine?
No, it's a bit better. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm based in India, Bangalore, and currently I'm working on desktop virtualization and application packaging. So
Okay.
uh, my expectation is it's going to take my knowledge to, you can say, to next level, and would like to learn about cloud computing. So
Sure, I think it's going to help you. All right. Done. Uh, Ravi Shankar. Hey, Ravi Shankar.
Yeah, hello, good morning.
Good evening for me. Good morning for you.
Okay. Um, Currently, I'm working as network administrator,
Okay.
and I'm looking to have more knowledge and where could I gain more. So I joined this course.
Sure. There is a bit of networking also in this course, which will really, we are going to work in an organization where they are trying to connect to AWS with their existing network. I think you can play a key role there.
Yeah. Previously, I heard that you are told that around DevOps and Puppet like Chef,
Yeah.
you're going to teach all those tools in this also?
No, this course is only for AWS.
Okay. We have to pay separately for that.
I think you have to talk to that about Collabra, right?
Okay.
My focus here will be on AWS.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, Next, it's Ravi Teja. Hey, Ravi Teja, can you hear me? Not able to speak up. Okay. He's a storage and backup engineer, but he's not able to talk. So we'll move on to next person. Hey, Saiket. Somehow I can't seem to unmute you. Sorry about that, but somehow I can't unmute you. I'm trying, but I can't unmute you. Good morning. Do you have any questions? Like any questions to start out the code? Okay. If you can type in, that will be good because I can't seem to unmute you. Are you on mute by any chance from your side? I don't know why, but I can't unmute you. I tried unmuting everyone and I was successful, but not you. So not sure why. Uh, uh, if you can type in your question, I can take your question now. Keep typing in your question. I'll come back to you. Uh, you're working in.
Hi.
Hey, Satyabrat.
Yeah. Yeah, hi, this is Dave from Delhi. Hi, Vishnu. Hi,
Hey,
everyone.
hey.
Yeah, I'm working as a application virtualization engineer, mainly into GenApp and even working in virtualization domain. So,
Oh,
frankly
okay.
speaking, my plan is to switch my profile from virtualization to cloud.
Good plan. In fact, this is the right time to step into AWS, especially even in the cloud tools that you're talking about. AWS is the right platform for now. At least for some years, it's going to be there. It's a good time to start. It's not too late yet.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So I'll talk to Saikit in a moment. Uh, hey, Sajid.
Hi Vishnu, good evening.
Good morning.
I'm saying, okay, my name is Satyajit. As you know, I am working as a system administrator, services level. I wanted to do AWS is because of the same. I want to shift from my service desk job to a more better
Sure.
profile. I have
Sure.
previously experience of 1 year in networking, but presently my job is in service desk. So I'm just trying to get knowledge and try to improve my career goals.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
Vishnu,
Hopefully,
one more question.
sure. Go
Vishnu,
ahead.
one question here is, if you think there is any prerequisite or we should know some things like you mentioned in the starting, like networking. In networking, you need subnetting.
Yeah.
I'll request you to please inform us or please let me know, at least for me at least, because I'm quite new in IT, I would say, just 2 years, and I'm not having that much exposure to other applications and other technologies. So please let me know at least, I would say,
Sure.
and
Sure.
others will be helpful.
Sure. Even I would want you guys to understand as much as you can. So any prereq that is there, I'll let you know, because otherwise it's going to be tough for you guys to pick up and tough for even me to make sure that you understand the concept, right? So I'll let you know about that. Don't worry about it. It's going to
Yes,
come
sure.
in when we're going to talk about VPC in particular. You're going to look at that in some time. Not probably today, probably closer to the end of the course. We're going to look at it. Okay.
Okay. And Vishnu, regarding during the training, should we ask questions or directly during the part where you are teaching
Yes.
that, and or
Yes.
should we ask at the end?
Don't hold off on your questions. Ask your questions anytime you want.
Okay.
Only
To
thing that you
just
have to
ask.
do is you have to raise your hand.
Okay, that's what I heard. Thank you.
I mean, normally you're all muted. Only when I unmute you, you can speak. Right?
Sure.
You have to raise your hands. I'll look at people who have raised the hand. Then I'm going to unmute each of you guys, and then you can talk. Then I can answer your questions. Okay. All right. Let's go to Vasu. Hey Vasu.
Hi Vishnu, this is Vasu.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Coming to my experience, total I have 5 years experience, and currently I'm part of Oracle India Private Limited Bangalore, and I'm working on a platinum product here. So basically, I'm a Linux and AX administrator. So my expectation to join here is I just wanted to switch my career into the cloud and automation side. So that is my plan.
Wise decision, I would say. Wise decision. that's
Okay.
that's I can say.
Yeah.
All right. Good. All the best for your career, guys. That's the most important part of all of this. Uh, I had a question from Psyche. Let me know if this is a wise decision. I am working in IMS Health. Uh, I'm working in IMS Health. So what are you working on in IMS Health? Are you into IT or are you into healthcare? Okay. Hey Amit, can you hear me?
Hi, Vishnu. Yes, I'm able to hear you.
Yeah.
Vishnu, I have basically two questions.
Mhm.
What are the certification path? What are the certification courses? There is a path that you basically followed for the architect level. Second question is, for this course, do you provide some kind of an environment wherein actually we can and do the project?
Yes. Basically, you're going to register your own account, and I'll explain you that to you guys shortly, probably today or tomorrow, depending on the pace at which we go. And then you guys should be able to do all of your practicals in your own environment. The only prereq that I have for this course is you guys should have a credit card, right? So what we are going to do is we are going to register a AWS account. I don't worry about it. They're not going to charge you yet. You have something called as a free tier. Most of the things that we do can be done in the free tier. So don't worry about the money part. Only thing that you need is you need a credit card, right? So be ready with a credit card. At least today or tomorrow, go ahead and register an AWS account. Okay? And there you can do what all things you want, with some limitations, which we are going to talk about it. Okay.
Certification path.
Certification path. Probably today I'm going to talk about it.
Okay.
Okay. Here too.
Hey, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. You're on mute.
Hey, hi, this is a very good morning. My name is Atul Sharma. I just tried to contact you, but I don't know there is a devices issues going on. Yeah, recently I'm working as a cloud consultant. I already gone through with the number of the experience. Like I'm already being a part of Linux admin since last 3.6 years, and along with the network admin as well. I already play with some network devices as well, some protocols and routers and subnets and all. And yes, recently past year already done my OpenStack, right? And here I'm working as a DevOps along with some Jenkins and Git and Puppet and Chef and all. It had to some building some AWS concept to parallelly I can maintain these AWS skills as well, because my plan is better as to take these skills and to integrate all the parts and become a very good technical person. So it feels me and it makes me happy. So I want here to get some required skills from your side. I'll definitely we are very going to good. Already discussed with you like who's going to taught us and all. So I'm really very satisfied with you, and hopefully the training is going to be good for us.
Hopefully, even I hope that. Hopefully, you guys can pick up something from the training. I may not be able to make you masters, but if you can pick up, say 60-70% of what I'm teaching you guys, I think you should be good in the market. All right, so all the best,
Please
guys.
let me know your name. Still, I don't know your name.
My name is Vishnu. If you look at even at the list, my name is listed as an organizer under the collaborator trainer. I mean, just in case if any of you guys did not pick up my name, just open your GoToMeeting, and there I'm an organizer, and my name here I'm putting it again.
Vishnu, if I'm not interrupting you, can you please let me know a bit about yourself? That what is your experience in terms of the cloud and automation? So accordingly, really, I can plan. That's really work for me.
Sure, I did that already. Maybe you are a bit late, but I'll go through it again. Don't worry about it. Okay, I'm a AWS architect for now. I'm into this industry for past 13-14 years. I've been basically a Linux admin, and I've been working on Jenkins, Puppet, Chef, VMware, OpenStack, Solaris, AIX, and many tools that have come along the way. And currently, I'm working for a company in US as a AWS architect. So my role predominantly is on AWS, and I have been working on AWS for the past 3.5 years now. And I'm a AWS certified solution architect, developer, and a SysOps. That's a bit about me.
All right, sound cool. That is a complete your container. We can fetch what we want, right?
Hopefully, you can find an answer for most of your questions. I'm also a CCNA. If you want to know my certifications, also there are many. I'm a CCNA, RSC,
Not at all.
MCP, VCP. All right.
Okay, okay. All right.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Cool. All right, guys. That's it being said. All right. So let's start off. I think I spent a good amount of time at least getting a brief intro of you guys and me. As I said, any of you guys have any questions, raise your hand. I'm willing to take your questions at any moment. Okay. I may delay it for a minute or two, just in case if I'm finishing a sentence or anything. I may delay your a question for a minute or two, but I would like to answer your question as soon as possible and get along with it, right? So don't worry about the flow or anything. Just when you have a question, ask it. Okay. All right. So let's go. And this course, the presentations are going to be almost no. They're not going to be any PPTs. There is going to be only one PPT, and that's going to be only for today. After that, it's going to be all hands-on class, right? I don't like PPTs, and most of the reference material that I'm going to show you is on the AWS side, right? So that will help you guys get more understanding of what I'm talking about. So PPTs, no PPTs, only one day PPT, that's it, only for today. From tomorrow onwards, it's going to be all hands-on, right? With that said, so let's start off. Even this PPT was a bit tough for me to prepare. I'm not a only trainer kind of a guy, so preparing PPTs for a training is a challenge, right? And I don't want to get bogged down with preparing a PPT rather than helping you understand about the concepts that what we're going to talk about. All right, so the first screen is a welcome. Again, welcome all of you guys. Okay, so we are going to talk about a lot of things here, right? We are going to talk about starting talking about introduction to cloud computing. Then we're going to talk about types of cloud computing. Then we're going to talk a bit about virtualization, because virtualization is a very key concept in a cloud computing infrastructure. Without virtualization, you can almost say like that there's no cloud computing at all. Then we are going to look at a brief overview of AWS. Then we are going to sign up for AWS. And when you create your new account with AWS, you get something called as a free tier, right? And to sign up for AWS account, you will need a credit card, as I said. I don't know if your debit card works. If you have a debit card, probably should give it a try and see if it works. But definitely a credit card works, right? And don't worry about it, about using your credit card. You'll not be charged too much for it. And we'll also see how to monitor the costing, just to make sure that you guys don't end up paying too much money for it. So we'll also take care of that. So, but as I said, you will need a credit card and you need to sign up for a new AWS account where you can do your practical stuff, right? So what's going to happen here is you guys are going to create your own AWS account, and most of the stuff that I'm going to explain it here, you're going to do on your own AWS account at your own convenience, right? There is, especially for this AWS, there's nothing as a lab or anything like that. It's your lab. You can do whatever you want, but follow me. That will help you, right? And we're going to look at AWS dashboard and all of this stuff. Once we sign up, we are going to log into AWS console. That is also called as an AWS dashboard. Somebody has a question. Let me take the question. Okay, Amit. Oh, sorry, Abhay. Yes, Abhay.
Yeah, what?
Sorry, you raised your hand.
No.
Okay, all right. Your hand was raised. That's okay. Oh, sorry. I think it was Amit. Hey, Amit.
Hi Vishnu. I was said that the AWS account, I was said that you would be requiring a credit card, but the AWS account that you are going to help us in opening up, that will be provided from Collabra. So
There's nothing as Collabra account. I mean, I'll show you how to create a new AWS account.
yeah.
Right. I'm going to show you how to create an account.
Okay.
But there's nothing as Collabra AWS account. It is for anybody who wants it. You can create an account. It's just like a signing up.
Okay, no, but the thing was like you said that it would not be charged much, so that charging part somewhere do I have to do it with them? Like it was said that they would provide that. Collabora Institute would provide.
LMS account is different. Maybe if you're talking about the LMS account, that is different. AWS account, obviously you're going to create an account, and just in case you're going to be within the free tier limit, you don't have to pay up. And even if you have to pay up, right, it will not be more than $2-3. So don't worry about it, right? Don't worry about that part, and just remove that from your head. So that's going to create a lot of distraction. Right.
Okay.
And I hope you guys have your own LMS accounts. If you guys have created, if you guys have signed up for Collabra, you should have a LMS account created for yourself, and there you can watch the recordings there, right? Okay. Let's continue with the discussion. Okay, LMS accounts are already created. Good. Okay. So the first thing that we are going to look at in all of this is EC2. EC2 is nothing but elastic compute. So in this, we are going to talk about something called as virtual machines, right? So in the normal world, you call it as virtual machines, but here you call them as instances. So in this module, we are going to look at creating our own instances, and then we are going to look at the pricing models, because nothing comes free in this world, right? So you'll have to, when you create an AWS account, when you launch an instance, there is certainly a free usage here, but if you launch say 100 instances, then you'll have to pay for that. So we'll also try to understand the pricing models, and there are different pricing models basically, right? And we'll also try to understand, depending on your requirement, which pricing model you should go for. Nimish has a question. So, hey Nimish. Hold on. I did not unmute. Hey Nimish.
Hi.
Yep.
Actually, I don't have a LMS account. So how to create that account, LMS account?
I think you can mail Collabra, and they're going to help you with that.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Okay, then we are going to look at different instance types. Then we are going to look at something called as AMIs, right? Which is a very important concept. And in a virtualization world, you would have heard a term called as templates, right? Templates are here equivalent to an AMI. We are going to look at it. Then we are going to launch a Windows instance, and we are also going to launch a Linux instance, and we are going to connect to those instances. I'm saying instances. That means virtual machines, right? So we are going to launch these instances. We are going to connect to those machines what we have launched, and we are going to see how to log in and how to navigate here and there, right? So we're going to look at that. And then we are going to talk about the multiple other things that we're going to talk about. Then we are going to talk about something called as EBS. EBS is nothing but elastic block storage. I said you're going to create a virtual machine, but virtual machine will also need to have a hard disk, right? That hard disk solution is nothing but EBS here, right? So if any of your OpenStack guys, this is you can do a virtual comparison to what I'm talking about, but we're not going to talk about OpenStack here. We are going to focus. We are going to make. We are going to keep our focus on AWS. So we're going to talk about EBS volumes, which is nothing but your hard drives. Then we are going to look at something called as snapshots. Then we are going to get into a bit of security with security groups. Then we are going to talk about something called as elastic IPs, key pairs, network interfaces, because once you create a virtual machine, it needs a network card, it needs a hard drive. So we're going to look at that. Then we are going to look at a very interesting concept called as elastic load balancer, right? I'm not sure if I want to do this now, but I'll do this. Okay, I'll just give you a brief of what I'm going to talk about. Say if I have a web server, right? If I have a server which is serving traffic for google.com or abcd.com, and say now there are 1,000 requests per second. There are requests coming in, and there are 1,000 per second. But and the server can handle say 1,500 requests per second. But say suddenly what's happening is the number of requests coming into your EC2 instance or web server is increasing. Then how do you solve it? Right? Currently, number of requests that I have is say 2000. I have 2000 requests coming in at this moment, and my server can handle at max 1500 requests. Right? So what's going to happen is the server is going to crash. If you're not going to address this problem, the server is going to crash. So instead of letting your server crash, what you can do is you can use something called as a elastic load balancer. Right? With elastic load balancer, what you can do is you can have a something called as a load balancer. Load balancer is basically a device. Sorry, let me open up a paintbrush. Let me try to. This will be better. So we are going to create something called as an elastic load balancer, and we are going to have our EC2 instances or servers behind this load balancer, and the traffic that is coming in from internet is going to first go and talk to my load balancer, and then it's going to get to my EC2 instance. As I said, each server can handle, this server can handle 1500 requests, and currently the number of requests that I'm getting is 2000 requests per second. So what I can do to solve this problem is I can add another server, right? I can add another server and I can place this server behind a load balancer. Then what's going to happen is these 2000 requests are going to be split between these two servers. So each server can handle 1000 requests per second, and both the servers are happy. So we are going to look at this one, elastic load balancer, right? We're going to look at this on this class. So I just want to briefly talk about it. So that's the reason we just had a look at it. Then we're going to talk about something called as Amazon CloudWatch. This is the monitoring tool for your AWS. Somebody has a question. Somebody has a question. Yeah, Amit.
Hi. Is there any relation between the elastic load balancer and the EBS, which is elastic? You said elastic block storage, is it?
No.
Okay. So elastic is the name of an organization, or is it a technology?
Elastic is just there is no significance to it.
Okay, just like you can expand, you can scale it. That's why it's just elastic.
That's what it is. But there is no significance. Ravi Shankar has a question. Yeah, Ravi Shankar.
Yeah, up to how many you said that up to 2000 links are that load balancer can
that was just an example. 2000, 1500, 1000, that was just an example.
Do we need to select like a particular EVS for that, or anyone can support that?
We are going to discuss about it when we are going to get to it. That was just an example, right? What I was trying to explain you is you can create something like this, which can split traffic between your servers. These numbers are just example. You can have n number of servers behind this load balancer.
Okay.
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 Okay. So we are going to talk about elastic load balancers. Then we are going to talk about something called as Amazon CloudWatch. This solution is basically going to help you monitor your instances. Say I launched 5 instances. I want to monitor the CPU usage of each instance. So whenever the CPU usage crosses about 80%, I want to be notified about it. Then what you can do is you can use something called as Amazon CloudWatch and Amazon SNS. So these two things combine together and let you know when the CPU usage of a EC2 instance is more than 80% if you configure it, right? If you configure it, it'll email you. So that will be achieved using these two components. So we're going to look at that. Then we're also going to look at something called as auto scaling. So in this auto scaling, what's going to happen is, as I said, there are two servers here, right? If you configure your auto scaling properly, if the input requests are going to be say 4000, what's going to happen is your auto scaling can automatically spin up a new instance, right? If my input traffic is 1500 requests per second, and if I configure everything properly, depending on how I configure it, my auto scaling group will be able to keep spinning up as many instances I want. And what this auto scaling group can also do is, whenever the load is going to come down, it's also going to delete the instances automatically, so that you don't have to pay more money if you don't use the service. We're going to look at this in detail later on, but that was just a base idea. Right? Auto scaling. You can automatically scale whenever you want. It's automatically going to scale up and scale down. Scaling is not about just increasing the service, it's also about decreasing the service. So both of these things can be done. So we are going to look at that. Then we are going to look at something called as a S3 storage. Have you guys used something like a Dropbox.com or Dropbox.com or Google Drive, right? There you upload your documents and you can download those documents from anywhere in the world. So that's a storage space. So a similar storage, a similar solution is being done on AWS, that is called as S3 storage. So we're going to look at the S3 storage. And if you guys have been using Dropbox.com, so whenever you upload a file into Dropbox, the actual backend of that service is being done through AWS S3 storage, right? So we're going to look at that thing. Then we're going to look at something called as Amazon CloudFront. This service is basically going to help you build something called as what do you call, cloud caching services, like content distribution networks. If any of you guys have heard about Akamai, right? It is basically a service for distributing the content across the world. Say if I have a new video that is being uploaded into my website, which is in US, right? If I have my web server in US, and if I'm uploading a new video or a new picture into my web server in US, and you guys are all accessing from different parts of the world, if all of you guys are going to come through multiple links to my server in US using faraway geographical regions, the latency is going to increase for you guys, right? So to overcome that, you have something called as a content distribution networks, where the content will be cached at a nearest server to you. You don't have to come to US to get the content. The data will be cached from a nearest server from you, right? AWS has a solution for that, and that is called as Amazon CloudFront. So we are going to look at that. Then we're also going to look at something called as RDS. You guys should be aware of a database service, right? At least you guys would have heard about Oracle DB or MySQL DB, right? So AWS has a solution for that, and it is called as RDS. So where you can configure a MySQL server or an Oracle database server or a Microsoft SQL server. All of these things can be configured in RDS. So we're going to look at that. Then we are going to look at something called as identity access management. So once you create an AWS account, it's not going to be only you who's going to access this AWS account, right? There could be multiple people in your organization who will be accessing this AWS account. So each of those people will need a individual AWS account, right? Each of you people will need an individual AWS account. So each of your people in your organization will need an individual AWS account, and that AWS account creation and everything will be done using something called as IAM, Identity Access Management. In Identity Access Management, we are also going to look at how to set up user policies, how do you configure the access and all of this stuff. Okay. Then we're going to talk about something called as Amazon VPC. As I said, this is where you're going to create networks. Right? We are going to get into detail when we're going to talk about it. Then we are also going to talk about something called as Route 53. In Route 53, what's going to happen is, say whenever you type in www.google.com, the actual communication happens with an IP address, not with google.com, right? So this conversion from name to IP address is called as name resolution, and that will be done through a service called as DNS service. So Amazon also has a service for that. So that is called as Route 53. Then it also has a service called as Elastic Beanstalk. This is where you say if you have an application that has to be deployed on cloud, you don't have to worry about creating EC2 instances and all of this stuff. All you can do is you can directly deploy your your application on Elastic Beanstalk. So we are going to look at that. Then we are also going to look at a bit of SQS, CloudTrail. Then we are going to look at some of the AWS cost management tools. Then we're also going to look at something called as cost calculator, consolidated billing. Then we're also going to look at a bit of best practices in architecture diagrams. So that pretty much covers the entire course. And we may not go in a sequence. Don't worry about it. I'll make sure that it will be more of better for you people to understand. So we may not follow the exact sequence, but we'll cover all of it. Okay. All right. So before we getting into cloud computing, we'll take a break for 10 minutes. Then we'll start off again. Any questions before we get into a break? It's 9:22. Okay, we will take a break. I'll just have some water and come back. We'll take a 10-minute break and we'll start off. Okay, all right. So let's break for 10 minutes, then we'll start. Yes. Yes, Atul, I'm here.
LMS
Atul?
LMS का अकाउंट क्रिएट कर दिया और दैट वुड रियली पैसिफिक यस हमारे अकाउंट का लिंक भी हाँ
Atul, do you have a question for me? If you have a question, raise your hand. Okay, I'm back. If you guys want to start off, I think we can start off. Yes, I think we can start off. So let's start off again. So let's try to understand what cloud computing is. Okay, so this is the wiki definition that I picked up about cloud computing. So it says cloud computing is the delivery of computing as a service rather than a product, whereby shared resources, software, information are provided to computers and other devices as a utility. Right. So that's what the definition of the cloud is. So what does this basically mean? Basically, cloud computing means the easy way to understand uh, cloud computing is when people are talking about cloud computing, it definitely means the servers are not with them, right? Somebody else is providing that as a service, right? It can be a server, it can be a platform, it can be an application, it can be anything. But what they mean is it is not being hosted at their end. It's being with the other company. It could be with Google, it could be with AWS, it could be with any other company, but it definitely means it's not with them. Okay, cloud computing is basically offloading a job to someone else, right? That is primarily a public cloud. We're also going to look at private cloud and all of that stuff. But with respect to cloud computing definition itself, it says cloud computing is the delivery of computing as a service rather than as a product. Let me take the question from Amit.
Hi, when you say offloading the job, what do you mean by what kind of a job do we offload? Is it just the hardware or anything else?
Hold on, let me finish.
Because you said that.
Let me finish off this. Okay, so what it basically says is, let's look at all of these definitions and then you'll probably understand it. The two definitions here that I've put up. So what it basically says is cloud computing is the delivery of computing as a service rather than as a product, whereby shared resources, software and information are provided to computers and other devices as utility, right, over a network, typically the internet. So what it is basically saying is, say in a normal world, you need a Windows server, or you need a Linux server, or you need a database server, right? So what you're going to do, you're going to buy a service, so you're buying a product, right? You're going to buy a server. So what you're doing is you're buying a product, right? In cloud computing, what's going to happen is you're not going to buy a product, you're going to buy a service. So what's going to happen here with respect to it, we will keep our discussion mostly focused on AWS. So with respect to AWS, say when you need a Windows server, you don't buy a server, you buy a EC2 instance, right? So when you buy a EC2 instance, you're not buying a product, you're buying a service. AWS is hosting the service from their end. What you're doing is you're buying a service in the form of a compute service, right? Here it just talks about computing, but the service can be anywhere from storage, database, application, anything that relates to computing can be sold to customers as a service, can be derived from a service provider, right? In our case, the service provider for us will be AWS. But if you are going to with OpenStack, there'll be people who will be uh, uh, putting up the OpenStack environment. They will be the service providers. If you're going with the Google Cloud, Google will be your service provider. If you're going to be with Microsoft, Microsoft is going to be your service provider, right? So there will be a service provider who is going to provide a computing service. That need not be a they're going to provide a computing service that need not be a computing only. It can be anything. It can be storage. As I said, it can be anything. the second definition talks about it. More information is there here. If you look at the second definition and have a look at this PDF, right? This PDF has a lot of information on it. This basically has information on what a public cloud is, what a private cloud is, and all of this information, and what the definition of cloud and all of this information. So whenever you get a chance, visit this page. I'm going to open this PDF here. It's going to talk about, this is the standard definitions of cloud computing. The NIST definitions are considered to be standard definitions of cloud computing, and it talks about, right? If I scroll further down, it talks about what? It talks about what is the cloud computing is and what are the characteristics of cloud computing, what are the service methods, what are the deployment models. So this all information is very important for you guys. So whenever you get a chance, go through this PDF, and if you guys, hopefully you guys should have access to the PDF that I'm looking at, so you should be able to access this link. If you're not able to access this link, do let me know. I can provide you this link, right? So the second definition says this: cloud computing is a model for enabling ubiquitous, convenient, on-demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resource, right? Shared pool of computing resources that can be rapidly provisioned and released with minimal management effort or service provider, right? Okay, so what it basically says is you can provide all of these things as services, and another important consideration to call it as a cloud cloud environment is there should be minimal service provider interaction. So what does that mean is, say if I want to deploy a server, right? If I want to deploy a server, I should be able to deploy a server. I should not ask AWS to deploy a server for me. If I want to get a storage, I should be able to do it. I should not ask AWS to do that for me. So there should be minimal service provider interaction, and I should be able to do everything, and I should be able to rapidly provision it. So whenever I want, say within next hour, I want 1,000 Linux servers, right? I should be able to do it on myself, and I should be able to do it rapidly. Okay. Go ahead, Amit, with your question. Atul, you have a question, right?
Yeah, hi, Vishnu. I think I'm just losing your voice in a bit while you were discussing something. So it is really interruptible to me. Actually, initially, were you going to share the example of balance was also a question, but I'm not able to raise my hand. But as of now, you're good to go. Once required, I'll definitely raise my hand. So please acknowledge accordingly.
Can you hear me, Atul?
Yeah, there's some fluctuations going on, Vishnu. That is a problem I'm facing as of now. I tried to troubleshoot from my end. I found everything okay. Right? I don't know why the interruption is caused.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yeah, your voice is, it's not came in a constant manner. It's fluctuating. Sometime it came very good, and sometime it having some, violation in your voice.
Is everybody facing that problem, or is it just Atul? I mean, if it is just you, then I have.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, Vishnu, I am also facing same issue.
You're also facing same issue.
Yes.
Some people are saying no problem from their side, and some people are saying problem. Okay, let's keep trying. If you guys don't understand, you can ask me a question, but let's keep trying. Any Any questions so far? Okay, let's go on. As I said, cloud computing is a model for enabling convenient access to a shared pool of resources, right? And the shared pool of resources can be anywhere from all of these things. And another important characteristic of a cloud computing is you should be able to rapidly provision for yourself, and you should be able to rapidly decommission them. Whenever you want, you should be able to do it. And I would highly recommend you guys to go through this PDF. This has a lot of information on basics of cloud computing, so that will help you build your understanding of cloud computing. Okay, so I would recommend you guys to go and watch that PDF. Sorry, read that PDF. Okay, basically, what is cloud computing, right? This is a normally say you need electricity at your home, right? You need electricity at your home. So what you're going to do, you're not going to stand up a power plant for that, right? There will be somebody else who's going to produce power for you. All that you're going to do is you're going to hook up a wire to that power line, and then you're going to use that, right? This is a similar analogy you can relate with cloud computing, right? So you need power. You're not going to produce the power. Somebody is going to produce the power. All you're going to do is you're going to hook up a wire to it, and you're going to get the electricity. But you're not going to set up your own power plant. In a similar way, even for cloud computing also, you're not going to build your own server infrastructure. Somebody else is going to build a server infrastructure for you, and you're going to use that using the internet, right? So that is a analogy that you can think of. Cloud computing is also a utility service, giving you access to technology resources managed by experts and available on demand, right? So you need servers, you need storage, you need network, you need database, you need whatnot, you need all the stuff in the world. So what you're going to do is you're not going to host all of that infrastructure at your end. Somebody is going to host for you. You're going to use it, right? So hopefully this analogy can give you a brief understanding of what we are talking about. Keep in mind, electricity is a classic example for your cloud computing model, right? So that is a classic example for your cloud computing model. Yeah.
Yeah, hi Vishnu. While we are, converting these things, suppose I have an access of more than 50 virtual machines. I have taken a kind of pool from the cloud infrastructure team, right? And as soon as they are giving us a pool to get access to maintain our 50 servers, suppose I'm running a number of these servers individually to maintaining my infrastructure from my end, right? So I also is required to make some backup plan to up these servers up and running in
Don't
my.
get into so much. Don't get into so much now. We are going to. I mean, we can talk about it now, but we are going to deviate from that now. Probably when we are going to talk about EC2 instances, then we'll talk about it. Right?
Sure,
Keep
sure.
your question aside for some time. I'm going to answer your question, but not now.
Sure, sure.
Okay, because that is getting too much into detail, and I don't want to get into too much detail now. Right?
Okay, no,
I just
thank you.
I just want to give you an introduction for today. Then probably from tomorrow we'll go into more detail about these topics. Okay. All right. So keep this in mind. This will help you. This will help you define what cloud computing in your words, right? You don't have to remember this standard definition of cloud computing, but keep this analogy in mind. You'll be able to relate to what cloud computing is, right? Give me a second, guys. I have a bad throat. Let me have some more water. Sorry about that. I seem to have a bad throat, so that's a problem. All right. So when you want to call or instruct as a cloud computing platform, it has to follow this 5 characteristics of cloud, right? So remember this 5 characteristics of a cloud, and any good cloud computing platform has to have these 5 characteristics. Only then it should be called as a cloud environment. And this characteristics are also listed in this PDF. You guys can read it later on, but I'll give you a brief overview of what it is. So basically, what it is on-demand self-service, right? So as a customer from a cloud service provider, if I need to spin up a server, if I need to stand up a server, I should be able to do it. If I need to get some storage, I should be able to do it. So whatever I need, I should be able to do it, and I should be able to do it whenever I want it. Okay, I should be able to do it whenever I want it. And another important characteristic of cloud computing is broad network access, right? Say same goes with your power lines also, right? Uh, if somebody has set up a power station, and if they don't have proper power lines coming out of that power station, they'll never be able to deliver power to you, right? So in a similar way, whoever is hosting a cloud infrastructure for you, they should have a broad network access, because everything is being accessed over the internet or some network, right? So they should have a broad network access. And resource pooling. As a cloud service provider, the cloud service provider should be able to pool the resources so that the overall cost of the infrastructure is going to be less. Otherwise, the cost will be more. So the cloud service provider should be able to pool all the resources so that he can bring down the cost. Another important characteristic is rapid elasticity, right? So this rapid elasticity is very interesting. Say we'll all talk with analogous to your electricity, right? So now at my home, I have say 200-watt bulbs or 2 bulbs only. Tomorrow I have a function at my home. I'm going to have say 200 bulbs instead of 2 bulbs. Like I'm going to use 200 bulbs. So I should be able to rapidly elasticity. So what does that mean? I should be able to lit up. I should be able to go from 2 bulbs to 200 bulbs within no time. On the same day, I should be able to go it. I should be able to go for it. The cloud computing, or here in this case, the electricity grid, should be able to handle that load. Only then that's a good characteristic of cloud, right? 2 bulbs to 200 bulbs, or 2 servers from to 200 servers. Rapid elasticity. Again, after say tomorrow is a function at my home, I use those 200 bulbs, and day after tomorrow, I'm going to switch off all of those bulbs, right? Again, I should be able to come down also, right? In a similar way, I have a shopping, say I'm an e-commerce site, and I have a shopping event at my site. So what I'm going to do is normally the volume that my website sees is say 1,000 requests per day. But when I have the shopping sale, when I have a big sale at my website, I may get 10,000 requests per day instead of from 1,000 to 10,000. So that is 10 times increase of the traffic that is coming into my network. And if I'm going to go with the cloud, I should be able to rapidly provision servers, provision not just the servers, all the required compute resources. I should be able to provision it, right? That is rapid elasticity. Then it should also be a measured service. Say as in with the electricity, right? You're going to measure using a power meter. Based on the units, you're going to pay money for that. In a similar way, even your cloud computing should have a proper measurement of how much you're using each service. Only then you'll be able to understand how much you should pay for it. And only then you can work on budgets, and all of this stuff is very important, right? Payments, budgets, projections, right? Only then you will be able to decide whether you should go for a cloud computing model or an in-house computing model, right? So these are the standard characteristics of cloud that any of the cloud should follow. Yeah.
Can you give a analogy for resource pooling in cloud scenario? Can you give an example?
Say, for example, you need a server with 1 GB RAM and a single processor. Even I need a server with 1 GB RAM and a single processor. AWS is not going to get two different physical servers for both of us, right? So what they're going to do is they're going to have one physical server, and they're going to give a virtual machine for you and a virtual machine for me. That is like resource pooling, right? Out of the one server they have, they're using that one server to one physical server they have. They may divide it into 20 virtual machines, right? Then the cost for these 20 people will be less.
So it's basically how I see it as a sharing kind of a thing. The same resource it is being shared, so different people can pool it.
Okay. Yeah, pooling is sharing.
Yes. Okay, sorry. Okay. Fine, good. Thanks.
All right. So these are the basic characteristics of cloud. Any cloud that should any service that wants itself to be called as a cloud computing model, it should follow these characteristics, right? Only then it should be called as a cloud computing model. Okay. Then there are different cloud service models, right? Cloud deployment, cloud service models, right? So what's going to happen in a typical cloud service model is it depends on what amount of services that you want to use from cloud, right? So what's going to happen is say this basically an application is made up of all of these stacks, right? It's going to consist of a network stack, it's going to consist of a storage stack, it's going to consist of a server. These are all logical components that we are looking at. These are not physical components. If you want to run an application, you need all of these components, right? If I want to run an email server, or if I want to run a chat server, or if I want to run a database server, I need all of these components in place. Only then I will be able to run an application. If I'm going to manage everything on-premise, I don't want to go with cloud. I want to manage everything on-premise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to manage all of this stack, right? Then you have other cloud. Then you have different service models like infrastructure as a service model, right? So in this infrastructure as a service model, what's going to happen is all the infrastructure bit is going to be managed by your cloud service provider. In our case, it's going to be AWS, right? And from the OS to the top, OS and all the layers above this are going to be managed by me as a customer. This part will be managed by AWS, and this part will be managed by the customer. If I'm going to use something like an EC2 instance, then this is the case, right? Then you also have other services like platform as a service. And this, what's going to happen is for your application, till this part will be managed by AWS, and you're going to manage this part. So what in platform as a service, what's going to happen is, say for example, there is an example of Elastic Beanstalk. It's a classic example of Elastic Beanstalk is an application from AWS, is a service from AWS, is an example of platform as a service. So in Elastic Beanstalk, what you're going to do is you're going to deploy your application. You're not going to worry about, say, if I want to install a Java application, I need the Java compilers, right? If I want to install a .NET application, I need all the infrastructure for .NET. I need a Windows operating system. I need C compilers, probably a C++ compilers, .NET compilers. All of that stuff will be managed by AWS. All you need to do is you need to bring your application and deploy that application on top of that platform. That is an example of platform as a service. Then you have software as a service, SaaS. People, you guys should have heard about IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, right? So in software as a service, what's going to happen is all of all of the services will be managed by someone else. For example, your Gmail, right? If you want to use your Gmail, are you managing anything? You're not managing anything, right? Everything is being managed by Google. All you're doing is you're installing a browser. You're installing a browser, and you're accessing Google, and you're not installing anything for that, right? You're accessing Gmail, and you're not installing anything for that. That is like a software as a service. Somebody has installed the software. You're going to get it as a service, right? So these are the classic These are the classic service models of cloud computing. Somebody has raised their hand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Vishnu. Hi.
yeah.
Vishnu, my question is,
Hmm.
see, nowadays most of the companies are moving to cloud.
Hmm.
So here I'm working as a virtualization engineer.
Hmm.
So in near future, will it kill my job? I mean, what these people will do? Virtualization, server, storage, and networking.
There is still scope for many things, but there are many data centers that are getting shut down, and people want to move to AWS. Believe me, that is happening everywhere. But there will still be data centers. There will still be jobs for people who are going to work in the data centers.
Okay. So even we can work, even though we do not have knowledge in cloud, but there we can work as a virtualization engineer, right?
There is no virtualization engineer in AWS.
Not required. Okay.
No,
Okay, thank you.
you need a AWS administrator to manage AWS infrastructure. Your VCP or VMware knowledge is of no use. Sorry about that, but that's how it is.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, hi Vishnu. I just have one doubt. Whenever I got any pool of, okay, it's called in tenants from the cloud provider, right? So when we are get access in this pool, so it also called the infrastructure as service cost where we can play as per as accordance, like we can install and configure the application servers, middle server.
Yes, that is the infrastructure as a service.
So it's
When you're
also playing the
configuring
complete
your
infrastructure.
operating system, then you're
Mm-hmm.
doing a infrastructure as a service.
Okay, it's not mean like my AWS or any cloud company is maintaining infrastructure and they are putting us as a project or a tenant. It's not like that, right?
AWS is managing your infrastructure, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if AWS manages your infrastructure, then AWS manages it. It need not be AWS, but it can be any company.
Okay.
Does it answer your question?
Yeah, more than
Okay.
95%.
All right. I think that should be good enough. Somebody else has a question. Ritu. Yeah. Go ahead. Ritu has raised her hand. Ritu Kunjan. If you have a question, I think you should talk now. I can't hear you. Probably you are on mute. Okay, I
Yeah,
can't.
my question is regarding PaaS. It's like, is it like you gave an example of Java compilers or .NET compilers. So my question is, when you, when you take a cloud, suppose you request for a cloud computing, and you go in for a PaaS service. So do we have to request them that you need these softwares or applications to be there,
Obviously,
or
obviously, yes.
so we just restricted, then if we take a pass, then we just restricted. What if tomorrow I need some other application, then I'll be charged separate?
Obviously, yes.
Okay.
There are multiple services. You can pick and choose what you want. It's like a la carte, right? You order more, you'll be charged more.
Okay, that answers. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so let's go forward. And there are different cloud deployment models. One model is called as public cloud, another model is called as private cloud, then there is another model called as hybrid cloud. So you guys would have heard about public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud a lot many times. What does this public cloud basically means is, say AWS is giving cloud services to anybody over internet. That is a public cloud infrastructure. Tomorrow you set up uh, a cloud infrastructure only for your organization. That is called as a private cloud, right? If you are using AWS service, that is a public cloud. Tomorrow you set up a infrastructure, cloud infrastructure only for your organization. That is called as a private cloud. Then you have another combination called as hybrid cloud, where you have some infrastructure in a private cloud and some infrastructure is in the public cloud, and that model itself is called as a hybrid cloud. That is, I'm putting it very simply so that you guys can understand it. But the actual definitions are here. I think even these definitions talk about the same thing, right? In a private cloud, what's going to happen is you're going to manage all the infrastructure. Right? In a private cloud for your organization, you're going to manage all the infrastructure. In a public cloud, AWS manages the infrastructure. AWS provides you the infrastructure. You're going to manage it. Okay. In hybrid cloud, it's down to how you configure it. Give me one more minute, please. Sorry about this, but my throat is causing some problems. Amit has a question. Yeah.
So, can we say that infrastructure, the IaaS, the previous one that we talked, SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS. Okay, the public cloud is the infrastructure as service and platform as.
No, these two are different things altogether. Cloud deployment models and service models are different things altogether.
Okay, this is the IaaS, PaaS, SaaS are all at infrastructure level, infrastructure or the actual software level, but the hybrid cloud and public cloud and the other private cloud is based on the usage level, who actually uses it.
See,
that's where the distinction happens.
Okay, the distinction between these two is, see, for example, AWS, what we're talking about AWS is a public cloud infrastructure, right? It can have infrastructure as a service. It can also have a platform as a service. It also has services like some software as a service. So how do you want to differentiate? Getting it? If I'm saying AWS has all three models within itself. Depending on your requirement, you're going to use. So these two are, you're trying to compare two different things altogether. Okay.
Okay.
Those are basically these are going to say you who is going to manage the cloud infrastructure, right?
Who's going to manage or who's going to use?
Who's going to manage?
So
who's
the
going
previous
to manage?
Yeah, because in the previous slide there is IaaS, PaaS, and the other one more SaaS.
Manage everything here. Manage everything here. When I'm saying private cloud, private cloud, you have to manage the entire stack yourself. In your private cloud,
infrastructure
yes,
also, but it is
everything. This is on-premise model.
Okay. On-premise model. Okay. So
it is not
how actually it is linking with cloud at all? When you are managing everything yourself, okay, it's managing, but the infrastructure is actually given by the AWS.
Yes.
Amazon. I mean, like if I say in terms of hardware and virtualization, servers, and storage, that is given by the Amazon or the AWS, and you basically manage it. So private cloud is basically who manages it, And public cloud is basically will come
Okay.
through, I guess, other
Okay.
vendors. Right?
Hold on. When you're talking about AWS, it's not a private cloud; it's a public cloud, right? When you're talking about a cloud solution within your organization that is like an open stack, it is called as a private cloud. Your cloud boundaries are within your organization, right? You don't go to a different, say you are working for Oracle, for example, right? And if you are saying that I'm going to deploy a cloud environment, the cloud model that you're going to deploy is only for your organization. No, you're not going out to a different data center, right? And you're not providing the service to anybody else. That is
Who
your,
uses it? Okay.
who uses it. It is only for your organization. That is called as a private cloud.
Okay.
Yeah.
And public cloud is who users are outside the organization. So it is
Yes.
basically, okay, the previous SaaS, PaaS and NAS is basically the managing perspective of the
Don't.
resources.
Yeah.
And the second slide that you see is public, private, and this one is basically with respect to the usage perspective.
Yes.
So if I have some application and resources and everything, and if a usage is few people use in outside the organization and few people use in the organization itself, then it's a hybrid. So it's basically the end user. Who is the end user? This slide applies, and who manages the previous slide applies.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Sure. Thanks.
All right. I have another question from Nimish. So let me take that question. Yeah, Nimish.
Hi Vishnu. Actually, I have a question. IaaS. If I create a one project or in IaaS,
If you create a
if I create a one project in IaaS in
project.
private cloud, okay, I am deploy a one Linux machine, okay,
Okay.
and
Okay.
on Linux machine, if I want to configure a JBoss server, okay,
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
okay, I'm deployed the JBoss server. After that, I have done my all configuration. It is in a private cloud or a public cloud, because sometimes we access those settings from outside from company, and
Okay.
sometimes work on inside the company.
I think I got the question. Uh,
Okay.
See, accessing is not a thing what we are talking about, right?
Okay.
So if you're
Okay.
hosting a JBoss environment, so if you're working for
Yeah.
a company A and you're
Okay.
hosting a JBoss environment for company B,
Okay.
right? If company
Right.
B uses your JBoss environment, company A's JBoss environment to host
Okay.
company B's application, then it becomes a public cloud.
Okay.
Okay. If you're a
Okay.
company A and if you're
Yeah.
hosting your own JBoss application inside within,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're hosting your own company A's JBoss application, that becomes
Yeah.
a private cloud.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Good. Pretty good questions. Uh, these are some of the cloud computing benefits. Cloud computing benefits start from dynamic scaling. With dynamic scaling, what's going to happen is you can spin up as many instances as you want whenever you want, right? And what's going to happen is based on your configuration, as I said, the number of instances that you need for your application. Say today your application needs 10 servers. Suddenly my traffic I'll again take an example of, say, this time we will take an example of quickinfo.com, right? You guys from offices or anywhere from the world, uh, during a match day, say for example, there is an India-Pakistan match, right? I'm just trying to give an analogy which makes you people to understand better. So there is an India-Pakistan match that's going on now, right? Today, say for example, there is an India-Pakistan match tomorrow, and there is no match tomorrow today, right? So the number of people who will be logging into Quickinfo to check scores or to just to get into the website, so probably it will be 10,000 per day, right? But tomorrow, when there is a match, that is going on, how many people do you think are going to come? It could be anywhere from, say, normal traffic is 10,000. It could be 10 times more, or it can be 20 times more, right? So if you are going to have your infrastructure on cloud, uh, if you are going to have your infrastructure on your cloud, so what's going to happen is, if you configure everything properly, your infrastructure can, it should be able to scale up. It should be able to say, as I said, 10,000 requests are being handled by my 100 servers, for example. Tomorrow, if I'm going to have 1 lakh requests or 10 lakh requests, proportionally the servers are automatically going to increase. You don't have to manually intervene something and increase the servers, right? If you configure everything properly in cloud computing, your infrastructure will grow automatically. And say day after tomorrow, after the match is over, the traffic slowly comes down and there will be no more people accessing the website on day after tomorrow. Probably it will be again back to 10,000 users that will be accessing your website. And you also need, for those 10,000 servers as a normal load, you need only 100 servers, right? On a match day, probably you will be using 1,000 servers. On a non-match day, you don't need those 1,000 servers. You are good with only those 100 servers, right? So dynamic scaling will help you address this load, peak up and peak down. Both the things it will handle. Okay, that's one of the benefit of the cloud computing model. And another advantage, there are all these 10 advantages. Shared resources, as I said, we have talked about pooling. When somebody is going to pool the resources, the cost is going to be cheaper, and it's going to be a pay-as-you-go model, right? With pay-as-you-go model, what's going to happen is, say I need a Linux server, right? I need a Linux server with 1 processor or 1 GB RAM. I don't need to buy the server. I need a Linux server only for 2 days, right? I need a Linux server only for 2 days. That's it. I don't have to buy a server and host it. So what I'm going to do with cloud computing is I'm going to spin up an instance for 2 days, and I'm going to give back the instance. Then I don't have to pay for that server completely, right? I just have to pay only for 2 days. That is pay-as-you-go model. As much as you use it, you're going to pay for that much. Then increased mobility. With increased mobility, what you can do is, say if I have a EC2 instance running in US, I want to transfer that instance to, I keep saying EC2 instance, that means I'm talking about AWS. So all of the things that I'm explaining here, I'm keeping in mind of AWS, right? Okay, so if I want to move a EC2 instance from Singapore to, I have a data set, I have a AWS data center in US. Now I want to move that EC2 instance to Singapore. AWS has another data center in Singapore. It is very easy. You can move it within minutes, right? Imagine you don't have AWS, you have physical servers, and if you want to move a server from one place to another server, it's going to take months, if not days, months, right? Then less or no capex. This is very interesting. Less or no capex. So what's going to happen is, you don't have to buy any servers. I need 100 Linux servers tomorrow. I'm launching a new app on my website. For that, I need 100 Linux servers tomorrow. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to buy, normally if I don't have AWS, I'm going to buy those 100 servers. So I'm doing a lot of capital expenditure, right? I'm going to buy those 100 servers. That is a lot of capital expenditure. I'm going to initially incur a lot of cost. With AWS, you don't have to buy those 100 servers. You're just going to use them on the service, right? And high availability. So AWS, as I said, AWS has different data centers spread across the world. What you can do is, you can also configure your servers in different parts of the world, so that even if one part of the world is down, you still be able to get high availability. Okay. Then you also it is easy to manage, high productivity, environment friendly, because they have the big data centers instead of every organization small data center. They have one big data centers which consumes power, which consumes less power, which consumes less AC, and all of this stuff. So it is environment friendly and less deployment time. Less deployment time. As I said, I need 100 Linux servers tomorrow. I should be able to get it within an hour. But if there is no AWS, if I have to buy those 100 servers, it's going to take months. If not days, it's going to take months. right? With AWS, everything is going to happen within minutes. Excuse me, sorry. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead. Cloud computing concerns. With all the good things with cloud, there are also some concerns for the people. Like the major concern that you say is complex. It could be complex or it could be very expensive. Even when I said you guys have to have a credit card, you guys were starting thinking about pricing. How much am I going to be charged? So one of the concerns, and people also have concerns about the data safety. Then some people don't trust. Whenever I say cloud, they say that let's move only non-production servers into cloud and all have all production servers into regular data center. So that could be, these are some of the concerns about cloud for some people, but these may not be true, right? Okay, so let's go forward. Let's talk about virtualization for a minute. This is the only slide I have for virtualization. Basically, there are two types of virtualization software. One is called as a type 1 virtualization, another one is called as a type 2 virtualization. AWS works on type 1 virtualization. So what that basically means is they have a hardware service on that, and AWS, for your information, uses KVM for virtualization. KVM is a hypervisor. Hypervisor is a small layer of software which will be installed as an operating system. Normally, when your laptop, what you do is uh, normally what you do is you install Windows operating system, right? And when you're going to use a KVM or a ESXi, you don't use an operating system. You install something called as an hypervisor, right? On the hypervisor, you're going to create virtual machines. You don't worry about this stuff too much. This is not very important. This is just for your information. Good to know information. And then there is something called as type 2 virtualization. And this, what you're going to do is you're going to install your hardware. On top of that, you're going to install your operating system. On top of that, you're going to install a virtualization software, like maybe you guys uh, should have used a VirtualBox or a VMware workstation. Under that, you're going to create your virtual machines, right? So this is like an application on top of your Windows operating system or Linux operating system. Yeah, AWS uses this model, type virtualization. Any enterprise class hosting environment uses this model, right? So let's go forward. Give me a moment. Okay, let's go forward. Let's do a brief overview of Amazon Web Services. That's a cloud computing that I want to talk about. Then we'll talk about Amazon Web Services. Probably from tomorrow we can start our practical sessions, right? So let's go forward with this. So basically, as you know, Amazon Web Services, right? This service is run by Amazon, right? Uh, so basically, Amazon has three business models, right? So these three business models include one model is for Amazon.com, Amazon.co.in. Probably, in India, you now Amazon.co.in is the largest e-commerce site according to news articles these days. So you guys would have used this one, right? This one, Amazon consumer retail business, seller business. There will be people who are selling on Amazon. For them, it is seller business. For us, for the consumers, it is Amazon retail business. And then they have uh, another business called as AWS, which is making a lot of money for them these days, which is what we are going to learn, right? And all of these revenue streams are different for them. And recently, they have started publishing their results on Amazon Web Services also as a separate entity, right? And they seem to be making a lot of profit on AWS these days, right? And another very interesting thing about AWS is, maybe I did not have this in slide. Another very interesting thing with AWS is, right now the cloud computing market is uh, is completely dominated by AWS, right? what people say is the AWS, the current infrastructure the AWS has is more than what the next five competitors including those five competitors have, right? So it's like AWS has 1,000 servers. The next five competitors, which includes Microsoft, Google, Rackspace, and there are some other competitors, all of them put together also they don't have the same uh, uh, infrastructure as AWS. And AWS has started very early working on cloud platform. So they have a lot of technology which other services don't have it yet. And by the time they're going to catch up, these people are even going to move forward. Right? I have started taking classes on AWS probably around 1.5 years back. And believe me, every time I take a class, every time I see something new in the class itself, right? Because I don't work on each service every day. So whenever I start explaining about something, this is a surprise for me, right? So you guys also, even if you're going to work on today, probably after 2 months, if you're going to see AWS console, there'll be some new service or there'll be some tweak which will be done. So it is always agile. There are a lot of new additions, new technologies that are coming into AWS platform, right? All right, so let's look at, again, come back to our topic. So AWS Cloud Platform, right? So as I said, AWS has different services, right? It has a messaging service, it has a networking service, it has a content delivery service, it has payment service, it has the most important, the compute service, it has a storage service, it has a database service. You can use all of these services to run your application, right? And these services that we're talking about, they have different data centers spread across the world, can host your, can give you access to all of these services. On top of these services, you can host your application, right? So that your application will be reliable, it will have all the features of high availability, redundancy, DR, so on and so forth. Okay. And AWS Cloud Platform, basically, as I said, this is a similar, this diagram is similar to the next slide. So what it basically says is you have different management and administration applications like console, identity access management, monitoring, then your application platform, then you have foundation service. All of these services are built on AWS Global Infrastructure. AWS Global Infrastructure is nothing but they have data centers spread across the world. We are going to talk about it shortly. So on this AWS Global Infrastructure, they host all of these services. On all of these services, you can run your application so that your application will have high availability and all of this. So we are also going to deploy an application probably close to end of our class, end of our session. We are also going to deploy an application using all of the services what we're going to talk about. Okay, that will be, I'll show you that one as a last part of the session. And this is like a comparable from a traditional infrastructure to Amazon Web Services. Like you have your service, the equivalent is EC2 instances. You have your storage, right? You have different kinds of storages, DAS, SAS, NAS, you have tape storages, you have disk storages, you have database storages. The equivalent is these things. We're going to look at these things. Then you also have different network components. The equivalents are these things. We're going to look at all of these things. And then you have security layer, like your security groups, network ACLs, access management. We're going to look at this stuff, right? Then keywords, very important keywords, on demand, right? On demand. So with AWS, you're going to get any service on demand whenever you want, right? Whenever you want, you're going to get it on demand. Uniform. Uniform is, as I said, AWS has different data centers spread across the world. You can use any data center that you want to launch your EC2 instance, for example. EC2 instance is just an example. Anywhere you launch an EC2 instances, it's going to be the same. It's going to be uniform across these different regions, availability zones, basically these different data centers. Okay, pay as you go. As I said, AWS is completely pay as you go model. So what does that says? Whenever you're going to say you use a resource only for 2 hours, you're going to pay for only 2 hours. You're going to use the resource for 1 month. You're going to pay for only for a month. It is pay as you go. As long as you need it, you're going to use it and you're going to pay for it. Available. And most of the infrastructure that is being done on AWS is highly available. So what does that mean is they have disaster recovery plans, they have high availability plans for most of the infrastructure that is on AWS. And they also suggest ways through which you can make your application highly available. They have some recommendations. They have some recommendations which will help you make your application very, very highly available. Right? Highly available. And Ritu has a question, so let's take the question. Yeah, Ritu. I think you're on mute.
Yes, sorry. One question. Actually, I was just reading about cloud computing the other day, and it said that most of the companies don't go to cloud because of security. Even in your previous slide, if you go one slide above, it doesn't mention anything about security.
I think that was taken care in privacy. Security is one of the major concerns, right? Again, you're on mute.
Oh yes, I'm here.
Yeah.
Actually, many companies don't go for cloud. That is one of the major challenges.
I mean, see, it's all perception. There are many banks which are running on AWS platform, right? So it depends.
Yes,
It depends on how people look at it.
yes, actually that is why some of the companies they go for a hybrid rather than complete cloud.
Again, as I'm saying, it is all down to perception of how people wants to look at it. There are companies which are running completely on cloud, right? So it depends. It all depends to the architects who are at their organization. See, for the current organization that I'm working, we are trying to move everything out of our data centers to AWS, and we want our data to be safe. We don't want our data to be visible for public, but we are taking our own measures to make it secure. Right? But probably in another 3 years, for the organization that I'm working in, everything will be on AWS platform. We're going to shut down all the data centers.
Okay. And one more question concerning this slide that you have. It's about interoperability.
I just picked up top 5. I just picked up top 5, but there could be hundreds. If you go on list them out, there could be hundreds of concerns.
Oh, okay.
These are not all the concerns, right? There could be hundreds of them. These are only the top 5 that I picked.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
Okay. All right. So let's go forward. Right. This time we have discussed, and let's look at this. Right. Let's talk about something called as elastic capacity. Right. Elastic capacity. As I said, if this is your IT requirement for your business, normally what you do at the start of the year, say you think that you're going to need 10 servers, so you have provisioned 10 servers. Now I have provisioned 10 servers, and this is the capacity of those 10 servers put together. This red line is the traditional IT capacity that I have put together, and my current business is running at like this. Sometimes it needs 5 servers, sometimes it needs only 2 servers, sometimes it needs 8 servers. Again, it will fall back to 4 servers. So this is how my business trend is. This is how actual capacity is. But my provisioned capacity is this much, right? So what's going to happen is all of this capacity that you see on top of this curve is wasted, is sitting idle, right? I have bought 10 servers, but I'm using only 5 servers now. I'm using only 2 servers now. I'm using only 8. So the remaining 2 servers are sitting idle. Here, remaining 8 servers are sitting idle. So that is all wastage. That is all no return on investment, right? So this could be another models like on and off. Say for example, you're running a payroll company. You're part of a payroll company. The payroll company normally works only during end of months, right? All of our payslips are generated at the end of month. Probably only during the last week they have to generate the payrolls. So the load will be more only during the end of the month, right? So that is like an on and off model. But even if you want to address the end of the month load, you have to buy all the servers and keep them ready to address the end of the month load. So all during instead of those last week, for the rest of through those 3 weeks, your servers are sitting idle. That is also waste, right? That could be one model. Another model could be like this, and you keep getting servers, you keep increasing servers, but there's some capacity that's going waste, and then will be like variable peaks. I have a structure which can cater to say 100 customers per day, but I have a shopping event, or I said I have a cricket match, right? People come into my website to look at the updates on cricket matches or a shopping event. Then if my capacity that I have is unable to handle this peaks, right? So what's going to happen is I'm going to lose business, right? This is all waste, and this is customer dissatisfaction, right? And even like predictable peaks, I'm going to lose business. I'm going to waste some capacity. So this is with the traditional model. So with elastic model or with cloud model or with elastic capacity, what's going to happen is this is what is going to happen. Your infrastructure is going to closely follow your business, right? Your infrastructure is going to follow your business requirement. If you look at it, there is never a wastage nor a customer dissatisfaction, right? If you configure everything properly with AWS, this is what is going to happen. You don't have to provision anything upfront. You don't have to have customer dissatisfaction. Your capacity will be taken care by AWS elasticity, right? One moment. Okay. So as I said, again the same slide. This is a traditional data center. So if you are going to planned capacity, if you're increasing your capacity like this, and if your business is growing like this, there could be a lot of dissatisfaction. But with AWS, your capacity is going to closely follow your business requirements if you are going to configure everything properly, right? So that's a bit about it. And there is a very interesting case study on AWS website. Go ahead and look out for this case study. Animoto case study, just type in this, and I would highly recommend you guys to watch this video here, right? This talks about an interesting case study, right? After the class, go ahead and hear this video. That is very interesting. Basically, what it talks is Animoto is a Animoto is basically an application which takes your photos, adds some music, adds some animation to your photos, and gives you a video, right? So that is their business basically, right? So what they have done is they started somewhere. I don't think you guys can see this. This is all 2000. Even I can't see this. So look at this video and you'll understand it. So what happened is they were running at 40 instances, right? They were running at a steady state of uh, okay. So they're running at a cool 40 instances load, right? So what happened is they have launched their application on Facebook. somewhere during this time, they have launched their application on Facebook, and suddenly they have seen a peak, right? They have seen a peak of 5,000 EC2 instances per at any given point of time. So they have peaked from 40 instances to 5,000 instances. So what does it saying is all the capacity that is required, all the capacity that is required to handle this load, AWS was able to provision it for them, right? From 40 instances to 5,000 instances within a matter of 2 or 3 days, and AWS was there to help them out. AWS was able to give them that capacity. Imagine if can the same thing be done in a data center? If you just need a server, if you place a quotation for a server with a vendor, they're going to take at least 4 or 5, at least I would say at least 3 months to get a server. But here, the capacity from 40 to 5,000 within a matter of 3 days. This can't be done in a traditional data center model, but this was done on AWS. This is a very good business case. Look at, as I said, go ahead and look at the video. Just as I said, go ahead and type in opengoogle.com and type in AWS case study Animoto. It talks about that, right? Okay, so let's go forward. Okay, and there are, as you said, right, there are some lot of somebody said, Ritu, I think Ritu said, there are concerns about security. Yes, there are concerns about security, but with AWS, security comes first. Anything that is being designed by AWS, they keep security in mind first. So the AWS has done a lot of things for getting security standards to their best ability. That is because once people start thinking that AWS is not secure enough, AWS is going to lose a lot of business, and they don't want to take that risk. So whatever they do, right, security is the prime concern. Security is the prime concern of a company like AWS, because once if somebody is able to prove that AWS doesn't have proper security measures, all the business is gone. People will move out in a flash, right? So AWS doesn't want to take that risk. So anything that is being done, any new application that's going to come onto AWS, the primary concern is security. Atul has raised a hand. Here, Atul. Atul?
Hello.
Yeah, Atul.
Yeah, actually, I was a question regarding the dynamic scaling, like a previous slide, what you are shared. A very good future, what I come to know. So, is there a limitation that AWS have, how much they can extend your limitation in terms of adding your instances as per the requirement, or it added what you want like this?
They say it's an unlimited capacity.
Okay, all right.
And that is
So
what you
whatever.
can, even when you look at this graph, right? In the capacity gone from 40 to 5,000 instances.
Okay.
Right? So that's like an unlimited capacity, right? 40 to 5,000 is what? It's unimaginable, right? They say
So what I
it's an
answered
unlimited
means
capacity.
there is no capacity. I mean there is no fixed capacity. It's as a requirement. It got automatically increased.
Yes, they can.
Okay.
There are some restrictions on it, which we are going to talk about it. But if you clear those restrictions, it's an unlimited capacity.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so if you guys want to read about the security best practices or compliance best practices, there are a couple of links here. You guys should go ahead and read it. Ritu, I'll come to you in a minute. There are some there are some information about what all the security standards they have and all of that information here, and they also have some compliance documents, right? So what all compliant? They have PCI compliance, they have SOC compliance, SOC 1, SOC 2, they have ISO compliance. These are all some of the standard compliance requirements. Standard compliance requirements that are required for many organizations to move into AWS. Okay, and many of these compliance are already achieved by AWS. Okay, Ritu has a question. Let's take the question. Yeah, Ritu, you have to unmute.
Question is regarding IaaS. Actually, I had attended one of the SAP sessions for cloud, and in that SAP goes for
IaaS, right?
yes,
Okay.
IaaS.
Okay.
So as
It's,
to what I understood, I mean, in that you buy a certain configuration of the server from SAP, but if in case your application needs more than what you had bought, SAP suggests that first you buy and then we will give you other configurations or more. So is it something, is this pricing first and then extension? I mean, as you said, elastic computing, or it goes implicitly and then the pricing is considered?
I mean, see, here you don't have to buy anything as such. Here the billing starts as soon as you start using it.
I understand, but like in SAP, because this question I asked them clearly, I remember this was around 2 years back. And I asked them clearly in the TechEd session. I'm an SAP consultant actually. So I asked them clearly about this. And they said like first, if in case your application goes beyond what SAP has provided, then maybe you will start seeing performance issues and stuff like that. And that is when you need to go back to SAP and say that, hey, my application needs more. So please give me more. First give the pricing and then we will do the extension.
It's
How
not
is
like
it?
that. It is not like that. At least with AWS, it's not like that.
So implicitly, it just extends based on the application performance or the usage
Yes.
performance.
Yes.
Okay.
If you configure everything properly, it can scale to whatever extent you want.
Beyond what you had purchased from Amazon initially.
As I'm saying, there's no requirement of purchasing anything. It is everything is on demand. You're not going to purchase anything. You're going to use it and pay for that.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
And one question more about the licensing. Is it like the licensing you have to purchase depending on what country your data center is placed? Suppose you go in for a physical server hosting. Okay, keep it.
Probably we'll keep that question on hold for now. We're going to talk about it when we're going to talk about pricing.
Okay,
Right?
okay.
I'll answer the question, but not now.
Okay, sure. Thanks.
All right. So, as I said, go ahead and read about the compliance and security related stuff here. This is good to know stuff. If you know it, it is good for you guys. So there are some white papers, best practices, and all of the stuff. You can go ahead and read it anytime that you want. And this is very important diagram. This is very interesting diagram also. Say for example, you have provisioned a EC2 instance, right? And so you have provisioned a Windows EC2 instance, for example. And as you know, Windows patching happens every month, right? So Microsoft keeps on releasing Windows patches every month, right? So if you don't patch your machine, there's a Windows machine, and if you don't patch your Windows machine, and if somebody breaks into your Windows machine and steals some data, right? You have a Windows machine, you have unpatched Windows machine, so which has exposed a security threat, and somebody has taken advantage of that opening, and somebody has stolen some data from your server. Who do you think is responsible for that? Is it AWS or is it customer? It is basically, some of you people may think it is an AWS responsibility, but no, it's not an AWS responsibility. It's your responsibility. It's the customer's responsibility. Because AWS is not saying that they're going to patch your servers. It is customer's responsibility to patch the servers, right? The security is all down to shared responsibility model. The physical infrastructure part, right, or the foundation part, for this part, security will be taken care by AWS. And how you encrypt your data, how you store your data, how do you configure your firewalls, how do you configure your identity access management, how do you configure your data, is all down to customer, right? Say for example, if I have a Linux instance in AWS cloud, and I have written the root password on a board, and I've forgot that. Somebody else has got that root password, logged into my Linux server, stole all the data. It's not AWS responsibility, right? It is the customer's responsibility. So not just the AWS model, but any of the cloud computing model works on this security model. It's a shared responsibility model always. It's not just only AWS responsibility for security of your servers. It's also your own responsibility to secure your servers, right? So the line is here. Everything that is related to security with respect to infrastructure will be taken care by AWS. Anything above and beyond that should be taken care by customer. Yeah. All right. All right. So let's go forward. Another interesting thing, AWS global infrastructure. Amit has a question. Let's take that question first. Yes, Amit.
Yeah, when you say about in the previous slide about security thing, so now can you just go to that particular slide now? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, when you say about security shared, application level security can be given by the application developers or basically the architect of that particular application.
Mm-hmm.
For AWS to give database security, storage security, whatever was the previous security, those kind of applications or database, like if we are using Oracle, what they were giving the services of security, has it been changed? I mean, like in the conventional data center kind of approach, whatever the security the Oracle was giving, the Oracle database was
See,
there. Now, when we are
I'll put it very easily for you, right? If you provision a EC2 instance, right? If you provision a Linux instance, and then you are going to install your Oracle server on top of it, right? So whatever security that you have to do in your database server, you have to do it. AWS will not know what security that you want in your Oracle server, right?
yes, but do I have something in the database saying that I am installing in the AWS environment or I am installing in a data center? Saying that my security is this with respect to the AWS. My security is with respect to the conventional data center. So that's what. So I mean, like there is a different layer of security coming in, or it's the old security layer.
No, see, there are different database models also, right? So on say when you are using the EC2 instance and then you are using your database server, then it is your responsibility to take care of your database server, right? There's nothing AWS can do about it. Okay. Then there is another service called as RDS, right? Relational Database Service from AWS. If you're going to go with that, AWS can take care of your database server for the security. Okay. Or let's say if you have installed your Oracle database server, it's not going to ask you whether you're installing it on a cloud platform or a database or a normal traditional platform, right? It's just going to install it for the Linux server or the Windows server.
So there is no anything special saying that I am basically installing it on a virtual machine or non-virtual machine. So fine.
No.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, let's go forward. As I said, AWS has different data centers spread across the world. So they have data centers spread in, they have data centers in all these orange dots that you see. They have the data centers, and these are called as regions. Region is a physical location where AWS has a data center. So there are three important physical components with respect to there are three important physical components with respect to AWS global infrastructure. One is called as a region, and the next one is called as a availability. Availability is spelling right? I hope it is right. If it is not right, then no problem. It's availability zone. Then there is something called as edge location, right? So these are the three physical components of AWS infrastructure. One is called as region. So what does this region means is AWS has a presence in that city, right? Say for example, if AWS says it has a region in Singapore, right? If you look at it, this diagram says AWS has a region in Singapore. Then it also says it has a region in Sydney. Then it also has a region in Sao Paulo. Then it has a region in Dublin, Frankfurt, all of these regions. So what is that basically saying is they have at least two physically isolated data centers in each of this region. So a region is made up of at least two data centers. And they have something else called as edge locations. Edge locations are the locations which are used to cache the data, right? As I was talking about the other example, say if my primary server is in, let's say it is in US, and as most of you people are in India, right? So I have uploaded a new video onto my US website. And if everybody from India is going to come over this large distance through internet to access the video from here, it's going to be slower. People in India are going to have a lot of latency. Instead of that, what happens if you configure everything properly? Your data will be cached in these edge locations. And anybody who's trying to access the video that is here are going to get the response from these edge locations. This is called as CloudFront, or this is called as content distribution network. These edge locations are used only for content distribution network and also for Route 53. We'll look at that later on. But for now, think of it as these edge locations are used for content distribution. These are going to cache the server. These are going to cache the content locally to help to help uh, to help the caching of the data. Right? Somebody I think has raised a hand. And somebody raise a hand. Okay, I do not see any hand raised now. Okay, so these edge locations are used for content distribution, and these regions are used for. These regions means they have a data center. Yeah,
Actually, I'm not very clear with this concept. Can you explain with Amazon.com and Amazon.in? I mean, if that can explain this.
which concept?
The edge, the content distribution you were mentioning.
Okay,
so if
we have a complete class on content distribution. For now, just think of it as because if I start it, I'm not going to finish it off. So, but for now, what you can think of it as these servers are used for caching, right? We have a complete class on content distribution network. I'm going to explain in detail when we are going to talk about that. For now, what you can for now, for understanding, what you can think is say I'm in Mumbai, right? I want to. There are 100 people in Mumbai who are trying to access a video that is in the server in US, in Virginia, in this data center. So if all of these 100 people are going to go to this server and get the video, it's going to be slower. Instead of that, what's going to happen is once somebody accesses this video in this server here, the video will actually be stored in this server. Okay, and all of the 100 people who are going to access the server from Mumbai, instead of going to this server in US, they're going to get the video from the local servers, so that streaming will be faster. Okay.
So it is not like content mirroring between the two edge servers. It's not mirroring, right? It's just a caching.
It's just caching.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Bye.
Okay. So these edge locations are used for content distribution, and then there is another component called as regions. Region means AWS has a presence in that city, right? And in that city, they have at least two availability zones. Two availability zones means two different data centers in that city, two different physically isolated data centers. Yeah, Amit.
In this diagram, I see that Asia Pacific in the India, Asia Pacific Singapore has a data center, but in India it shows two edge locations.
Yeah,
So
India
now
doesn't
I
have the
am
region yet. India doesn't have a data
uh,
center yet.
okay. So where is it caching then? I know you say that it's
I
basically
said
CN.
in for India, caching is being done in two edge locations. But if you want to
Okay.
launch a new
So
EC2 instance, you want a Linux instance in India,
okay.
you will not
Okay.
be able to launch a Linux instance in India. You have to launch it either in Singapore or any of the other data centers.
Okay,
Okay.
so the data center is a place where actually you can, so EC2 instance is basically determining whether it is a region or it's a
You can create EC2 instances only in
if I can
regions.
launch an EC2 instance, then it is a region.
Yeah.
And Edge is basically for content networking. So is
Yeah.
it Amazon hardware infrastructure? When you say it's a Edge, there is something Edge. Okay, so there are some
Uh,
particular machines who
yeah.
actually
As I said,
provide
yeah.
custodian services. Okay.
Yeah. As I said, we are going to look at more in detail when you're talking about content distribution network. But for now, remember now, you can only launch your EC2 instances in regions and availability zones. Okay. So let's go forward. So as I said, each availability zone will have at least two. Each region will have at least two availability zones, right? So when I'm talking about these when I'm talking about US East, it has five availability zones. What does this five availability zones means? In Virginia, US East VA means Virginia. In Virginia, they have at least five data centers. In Tokyo, they have three data centers. In Singapore, they have two data centers. That's what this diagram says, right? So these are availability zones and regions. Okay, and whenever you're provisioning, I'll come to you within a moment. Whenever you're provisioning new servers for your AWS infrastructure, you should always make sure that, say, if I need three web servers in Singapore, and for example, Singapore has three availability zones, I should always provision my servers in three different data centers so that even if one data center goes down, my application doesn't go down completely, right? So, yeah, Ritu, go ahead.
Referring to this slide that you have, so you said the application needs to be hosted in all three availability zones. So I just have two questions on this. So these three availability zones
It
will
should
be
not be
running.
hosted. I did not say that it should be hosted. If you host it in all three availability zones, it will give you high availability.
But there is no syncing, like if I host in one, because it's in the same region, it will be synced in all two. Like if I host in A, so will it not be syncing between B and C?
It depends on how you configure it.
Okay, because I had a little different experience actually. I mean, in terms of virtualization, when you have, we had an application which was in one data center, and that data center for some reason shut down. We automatically moved that application to another data center. But as to what I remember, we had not deployed or hosted that application in the other data center. So it was all taken care by the virtualization. So is it not like this here?
Uh, Probably, I mean,
The reason I'm saying, suppose today I'm going to host an application, me hosting in all three different zones will be difficult rather than me hosting in one and let it sync with the other two, because it's mainly the availability. And with
right.
virtualization, you can just switch. So why do we have to say, I mean, host it in B and C if it is already in A?
Okay. Okay. All right. So
That was one question. And the second question was pertaining to, is there any thing that A will be primary, B and C will be secondary? Is any, like round robin, or it's basically depending on which data center has free pools, so it will just go there, like how we have in
okay. All right. So those are two questions you have, right? Okay. So if I understand your questions, let me answer those questions. Let's see if I can answer your questions, right? So why should you host your, see, I did not say that you should host your service in 3 regions. What I said was, what this diagram also says is, say if you need, say for example, this region has 3 availability zones, right? And you're trying to host a web service basically, right? You're trying to host a web service which needs 6 servers, right? So if you take google.com, google.com is not running on one server. It could be running on thousands of servers, right? Google.com is running on thousands of servers. In a similar way, you have your company's website, which needs, say, 6 servers. I'm just giving an example. It needs 6 servers. So the best practice is always to launch your servers in these 3 availability zones, so that even if one availability zone goes down, the other 2 availability zones can make sure that your website is up and running, right? If I launch all of these 6 servers here, a switch may happen. If you configure everything properly, a switch may happen, but there could be downtime. To avoid the downtime, the good practice is always to spread your instances across multiple availability zones. Okay, that's a good practice. That's it. Whether you want to achieve it or whether you want to use it or not, it's up to you.
Yes, because sometimes it happens that I had seen that when it does the switching, the application does, it gets unavailable for some minute seconds, maybe 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and then it just starts.
It can
So is that
happen.
yes?
It can happen. It can happen depending on how you. It's all down to how you configure it, right?
So if in case you're saying that if I launch the application in A and B, and if the implicit switching happens, then this this 10-second unavailability might not happen. Is that what you're suggesting?
Again, that's all down to how you configure it. So it's all down to how you configure your application. See, there is no generic statement as it will not happen or it will happen. If you configure everything properly, if you configure everything as per the standards, right, you can avoid that situation of having some downtime.
Okay, okay.
Okay, I cannot make a generic statement as it will happen or it will not happen. There are no yes or no answers for this. It is all down to how you configure it. Okay.
Okay. Yes. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So that pretty much brings me to the end of the presentation and end of the class for today. All right. So I think I'm done for today. If you guys have any questions, you can keep asking questions, or we'll meet up tomorrow. Amit has a question. Let's take Amit's question. I'll come
you
to you.
basically,
Go ahead.
yeah, so basically I had 2 questions. Certifications, what are the certifications? You said that it would, maybe would be
Yeah,
discussing
we'll have a
something.
look at it.
And second thing,
Yeah, go ahead.
and second thing is basically the opening up a AWS
Account?
machine account. Yes.
We'll have a look at that
That,
tomorrow. Obviously, I'll have to show you that. Right.
okay,
So
fine.
AWS certifications have these paths. Right now, basic level certifications are AWS Certified Architect Associate, AWS Architect Developer Associate, AWS Certified SysOps Administrator Associate. And the professional levels are this, right? All this information is here, and we are primarily aiming for this. Okay. All right. I think that answers your question.
What's the difference between them? Can just architect level, developer level, and administrator level? The first layer. I
These
mean, I
kind
can understand that this architect is basically provides a solution for particular customer, but developer, is it like from the normal architect basically suggests a solution, and what does the developer do with the he basically uses some kind of services provided with Amazon Web Services and develop some kind of application and
yes, developer
administrator
does that.
does this.
Developer
Okay,
does
so
do that. Right? Developer does
so
programming and develops applications on AWS platform.
So when you say that now if I have a company and I want to move my applications from my data center to AWS, do I need a developer to do some kind of a AWS development for which the applications can be migrated to the
It depends on your application again. If it can run on an AWS platform or if it really needs any fine tuning, if it can be ported onto an AWS platform, you can port it, you can migrate it. But if it cannot be ported onto AWS platform, and if you want to take benefits of some other services which are already running on AWS, and then you may have to do a bit of development, right? That is really, the question of migrating an application into an AWS. That is a question everybody wants to answer. That is the main job of people. Everybody wants to move into the cloud, right? So, I mean, it's all down to looking at your application, and some applications cannot be migrated into cloud at all. So they keep running those applications on the servers only. Because some of the applications, for example, they run on Solaris, right?
mm,
AWS doesn't have a solution for Solaris. So if you want to move that application onto, say, AWS platform, that's not going to happen, right?
no, because AWS doesn't run on Solaris. Okay.
So it depends on what application that you're looking at.
Okay.
Right. So for example, if you have an
Okay.
application that is running on
So.
Windows 2003 or Windows 2000, AWS doesn't
Mhm,
have platform for that because it is out of support from Microsoft, right? And there are
mhm,
some
mhm,
old applications still running on that platform. If you want to move that, that's
mhm,
not going to happen. Maybe you have your own
mhm.
servers in a data center, and you can keep running your application on those servers, right?
But you say it is possible if I have I can do some AWS developer can do run this applications after migration to the AWS service.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Though the AWS doesn't point to 2003, he basically can use the services of the operating system which is provided there, and he can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In
All
similar
right.
way, administrator also.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So what's the difference between the AWS certified solutions, the upper one and the below associate and professional one?
Yeah. These are much more in depth, right? This would need a 1 year of experience, and this would need at least 4 years of experience. That's what AWS says.
And what's next for the DevOps engineer professional? Is it like similar to same thing what that you said, associate professional,
Yep.
associate and
Yep.
so in AWS term, DevOps is a person who actually develops the application, or he is a person who is basically responsible for deploying and managing using the Hudson and Jenkins and some scripts. Is it
This
that way?
DevOps is not Hudson and Jenkins. This DevOps is different. This DevOps, what this DevOps is going to talk about is something like ops works and other things.
Developmental work, the
Yeah.
coding. Okay,
Yeah. Coding with respect to AWS services,
fine,
not
got
coding
it.
with respect to Java or something like that, but with respect
Okay,
to AWS
got
services.
it,
Okay.
got it. Yeah, fine.
Uh, okay. I see three people raising their hand. Let me take question from Abhay. Abhay, yeah.
Yeah, can you explain me about sysop administrator? Is it some
What do you mean? Explain.
means what is there in it?
You can read about it, right? It's all here. All the information is here. It basically tests your ability to do regular routine stuff that are required for a AWS administrator. Right? It basically tests you on whether you are whether you can manage a AWS infrastructure.
Okay.
I mean, it's more like a hands-on stuff. Okay. All right. So let's take the next question. Let's take the question from Atul. Yeah, Atul. Yeah, Atul.
Yeah, Vishnu, I'm really very sorry to pull you back in your previous slide while you're discussing with your
Uh-huh.
reason where you can install your instances. So I have one generic question. Suppose AWS having a three reasons where we can take the advantage of it, all right? And whenever we are taking the any modules of from AWS environment, so they are giving us access from one region or they are giving me all the reason. That is my first question. And if
Okay,
you
so
are,
can you repeat your question again, please?
hello?
Can you repeat your question?
I'm telling you, suppose you recommend that you should install your instances or all the reasons from your backup plan, right? So I'm just asking you, what is the process to giving the customer to get access? Suppose they AWS has a three reason in Singapore, right? And
Okay,
as soon as I'm
Singapore is a region. Singapore is a region, and there
Mhm.
are multiple availability zones. Let's not confuse these terms, right? Singapore is a region. Singapore is one region, and under Singapore there are going to be different data centers. Go ahead.
No, yeah, that is fine. Now I'm taking access from the one availability zone, right, where I install my EC2 instances.
Uh-huh.
Suppose if I want to install the same instance on availability 2 zone, so that's required some extra charge, I think, right? If you are having a both the same things on a, another availability zone, so it's required to some extra charges to configure to
No,
network access. So who would be
no.
the responsible to pay the charges? Either AWS or the customer, right? And
Why would
suppose,
AWS pay for anything? Obviously, it's the customer who's using it will have to pay for it.
okay, now suppose if I take only one availability zone and that particular zone is goes down, then who would be the responsible for in that case? It would be AWS or the customer.
If the availability zone goes down, obviously it will be responsibility of AWS.
Obviously, how can I get back application to the end users?
How can you get back your application to the end user?
Exactly. Suppose I'm running my crucial application on this particular availability zone, and everything is running fine from our side. And suppose unwantedly, and that particular zone is goes down. So in that way, how the AWS going to provide some feature whether your application would run up and fine.
See, if your EC2 instance is in one availability zone and if that availability zone goes down, the best thing that AWS Amazon can do is to bring up that region as soon as they can, right? But they cannot bring up your application in another region. But while provisioning see, if you have a critical application, you have options to configure high availability for yourself. If you don't want to use that and if you want to invest all of your EC2 instance in one availability zone, and if you are going to take that risk, if by chance if that availability zone goes down, your application will go down.
Okay, mean a little bit also then AWS would be
Say
responsible
for
for that.
example, you have a data center, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have provision all your service in one data center, and if one that data center goes down, so what's going to happen to your application? It will be down. You know the risk involved, right? So there are precautions which you can follow to minimize the risk. If you follow the precautions, you should be good. If you don't want to follow it, and if you want to put everything in one place, then if that one place goes down, you are in problem.
All right. Okay. If anything else is required in our future, so I will ask in this regard the same thing.
Sure. All right. So I have last hand going up here. Yeah.
Yeah, just to continue with the same question on the same slide. See, in like in the scenario that I worked on, we used to monitor the application, and whenever we saw that the application performance is going down, we would do the switching between one data center to the other data center. But
How
how
will
is it
that
case?
solve the problem?
Sorry.
If the performance is going down, if you switch the data center, how will that solve the problem?
No, I'm saying that our bases and database administrators you used to do the switching. The virtualization using that they used to do the switching because our application was hosted in Texas. So because of hurricanes and all, it used to go down. So they used to do the switching. But
That
coming
is
back,
called as DR, right? That is called as disaster recovery and all. Here also you can
understand,
do the switching.
yeah, understand. But then over here, like what I understand, Amazon also gives us some monitoring tools. So if in case we see the application performance going down, are we to inform AWS to do the switching, or they
No,
would
you
monitor
have to do
this
it.
and do it implicitly?
They would not do the switching. See, if you have a, say for example, if you're talking about a database, right? And if they recognize that the database has gone down, and if you if you have configured high availability, they will do this switching for you. You don't have to worry about it.
Okay,
It will be like seamless.
acha, okay,
Okay, that is only for database for your information.
okay, fair enough.
Okay. Any other questions? Can you share this PPT? Yes, sure. I'll give it. I don't know if Collabras already has it. If they don't have it, I'll push this PPT across to them, and they're going to upload it to the LMS site, and you're going to get access to that. All right. Any other questions before we call it for a day? Sure. Sure. Thanks. Some of you people have liked the session. Good to hear that. All right. So we are going to. Still somebody has a hand raised. Let's see who was. Oh, there are two people who have hand raised. So let's take the question. Yes, Ajay.
Vishnu, regarding the certification part, I wanted to ask you: is there any like while moving? Could you please go to the certification where you had shown the blocks, please? Yes. In this, you mentioned that we are presently trying for the solution architect associate block. And what
Yeah.
about the other blocks? Is there any prerequisite for the other block? Like my colleague was asking about developer and administrator. So is they like we can opt for them later on, or we can opt like
There are no
what is that?
prerequisites for any of this, right? You can do any of the certifications that you want, but if you are preparing yourself for solution architect, at least 80% of SysOps you should be able to cover it, and at least 80% of the developer you should be able to cover it. And just for your information, this developer doesn't test you on how you can code, right? So if you are preparing for a solution architect, you're almost there for SysOps or developer both.
All right. And Vishnu, one more question. I was not unable to. I skipped my mind. Could you go to the virtualization phase, please? I have one question on that.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I'm new to this concept, so I'm not able to ask question at that.
No problem. Go ahead.
Yes. Are you going to explain us about the hypervision
No,
part?
no. We're not into that.
Okay. Is there any information I need to understand in this block? Like, I've done
No,
CCNA, so there was OSL layers. So in this,
no,
is there any?
no. You don't need it. Don't worry about it.
All right. Okay. Thank you. That was my concern.
Uh, Anybody has a question? I think anybody has a question. No. Everybody fine. For what type of job you will be eligible after completing this course? You will be available. You will be eligible for a AWS admin role, provided you build up your subject. Okay. Satyabrat Dev Prasad. Yeah, Satyabrat.
Yeah, hi Vishnu. Yeah,
Yeah.
my question is, suppose we have 600 virtual machine in our production environment. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we need to import those virtual machine to cloud platform. So one by
Mm-hmm.
one we will import, or at a time we can import all the 600 virtual machine to cloud
I can say you can import all the 600 machines at a time.
at a time.
You can, provided you have enough network bandwidth, you can import everything at a time. See,
Okay, so
these are all like
mhm.
architectural questions, right? So if you're going to import all 600 servers at a given point of time, right? So how long do you think it's going to take all to move all the 600 machines data? It's going to take very long time, right? So there are no see for many of these questions there are no yes or no answers. This is all down to how big is your application. There are many things that goes into considering of a movement of an application from a traditional data center to AWS. How big is
So
the
it
data?
okay. So
How
it means
critical is the data?
I mean definitely it will require downtime then in production.
You don't need a downtime. Definitely, you don't need a downtime.
Okay.
For moving out everything, it's going to take a time, but you don't need a downtime.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Okay, probably you can then say, I'll show you how to, how to configure with the data set. I'll explain you how to configure with your data center plus AWS data center also parallelly. We'll talk about it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. So, any other questions? All right. Again. Go ahead, Nimish.
Uh, uh, in AWS machines, we can monitor the applications and tune up those applications. If my applications consume more RAM, okay,
Hmm.
the if my application consume more RAM according to that uh, project, so we can monitor or tune up uh, application.
You can.
We can. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other hands raising. I think we are good for the day. All right. If you guys still have any questions and that cannot wait till tomorrow's class, you can drop me an email. I'll try to respond as soon as I can.
Okay.
Right. All right,
Yeah.
guys. Have a good day. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.